Bongsim News again today. Representative Victoria Spartz, RN, sharply criticized Attorney General Merrick Garland, asserting that the Department of Justice is perceived by a significant number as resembling the KGB, the Soviet security agency. The Indiana Republican proceeded to give an extensive discourse, highlighting instances where the FBI encouraged constituents in her district to report on their neighbors. Spartz further mentioned that federal agents were conspicuously present, visiting people's residences. The pervasive sentiment that the government is no longer acting in the best interests of the populace significantly contributed to the unrest at Capitol Hill on January 6. Spartz expressed her concern, questioning whether Garland was aware of the millions of Americans who harbor apprehensions about potential DOJ prosecution. A substantial portion of the country holds the belief that the department targets individuals based on their political affiliations, amplifying these fears. Let's check the various press outlets. Over 1,000 individuals are currently facing charges for their involvement in the aggressive assault on the U.S. Capitol aimed at impeding the certification of President Joe Biden. Numerous individuals connected to Indiana have been apprehended and accused in the period subsequent to the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. Notably, a woman from Bloomfield was the initial individual sentenced for her participation in the insurrection, and a guitarist from Columbus was the first to enter a plea among those charged in connection to the assault. Pick one press outlet and look at it. GOP Rap. Victoria Spartz of Indiana accused Attorney General Merrick Garland during a congressional hearing Wednesday of allowing his department to scare Americans like the KGB did in the former Soviet Union. Spartz began her questioning of Garland, who was testifying before the House Judiciary Committee, by noting how moving she found his opening statement. Spartz interjected, "It's not attacks," pointing to the January 6, 2021 protesters that came to the U.S. Capitol to voice their concerns about the integrity of the 2020 election. She said the situation at the Capitol became chaotic because the proper security was not in place. Spartz then raised the issue of U.S. Attorney John Durham's report released in May that found the FBI and DOJ had no justifiable predicate to launch an investigation of then-Republican candidate Donald Trump's presidential campaign in 2016 for alleged ties to Russia. It was based primarily on the Steele dossier provided to the FBI by the Democratic National Committee and the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign. It's like KGB, Spartz said of the whole Russiagate investigation into Trump. "I couldn't believe it happened in the United States of America. This is my frustration," Spartz told Garland. The lawmaker argued the overall effect of it is to give Russia and China fodder for propaganda aimed at destabilizing the U.S. Let's watch together.
American not to be afraid of my government. But I wanted to tell you, and I want to share with you and get your thoughts on that. Are you aware that a lot of Americans are now afraid of being prosecuted by your department? Are you aware about that? Are you aware of that? I'm just saying, are you aware or not?
I think that constant attacks on the department and saying
No, it's not attacks. Well, let me give you an example.
I don't know
We talk about January 6th. People.
I'm sorry?
Here, some people came on January 6th. There probably were some people that came on January 6th here, that had bad intent. But a lot of good Americans from my district came here because they are sick and tired of this government not serving them. They came with strollers and the kids, and there was chaotic situation because the proper security wasn't provided. That's a question that was answered really why. Why we debated for 45 minutes on the floor and didn't stop the debate after the people broke into the Capitol. But these people came, they were throwing the smoke bombs into the crowd with strollers with kids. People were showed up, FBI agent to people's houses. You had in my district, in my town, FBI phone numbers all over the district. Please call that. People are truly afraid. I just want to make sure if you're not aware that you are. And this is a big problem when people are afraid of their own government. And I'll share some other things. We're talking about justice system. I don't question, you're probably not a bad person. I don't know you. But what I'll tell you, you're in charge of the department. And people right now feel, I look at Durham report and I call on the FISA violations of queries of millions of Americans, right? It's like KGB, but when I read Durham reports, we have this, you have a nice, playbook First, let's have a special counsel, and then you don't have to answer any questions here. Then, let's extend slow walk investigation on Hillary Clinton, on Hunter. Everything is slow walk. We were very quick on Donald Trump, but you were very slow walk. Then, by the time, that investigation ended, statute of limitation expired, and all of your agents need to be tested for amnesia. No one recalls anything. Okay, you probably should have as part of your hiring policy. So no one held accountable, which was egregious what happened, in that report. When I read about them, I can't believe it happened in the United States of America. This is my frustration. I'll be honest with you. Then, it's very interesting, regardless what it is, even people in Obama administration raised concerns. How can President's sons be serving on, corrupt Ukrainian oligarchs? Do you understand that it actually can undermine the one Ukrainian effort and policy? I think these concerns were raised. The Obama administration didn't do anything about it. These people are dying right now, and Americans don't trust this president. So I want to ask you one thing. I don't need answer because I know you're not going to, but I think you're probably a good American and you care. And a lot of these people are so afraid they cover up this stuff, I think, in your department because they're embarrassed that what we became as a country to say that what our Department of Justice became. That allows Russians to do propaganda in Chinese. It allows them to destabilize our country. That is danger to our republic. It is significant danger. And I have just one more question from you. I agree on corporate crimes and FISA stuff, even with Democrats, that we need to do a better job. One more question for you. Do you believe that, you talk about rights to vote, but do you believe that only U.S. citizens should be voting in this election and doing anything to make sure that only eligible people vote in elections?
Yes and yes.
Okay, I would like to see that, what you do. Thank you.
House Republicans are currently experiencing a delay in passing an interim funding measure essential for ensuring government funding beyond the September 30 deadline, thus averting a partial government shutdown. The FBI and DOJ have encountered allegations of politicization, particularly in cases concerning pro-life advocates and parents expressing concerns at school board meetings. Moreover, they've been implicated in instances of censorship following revelations from documents shared with journalist Matt Taibbi by Elon Musk, the proprietor of X, previously recognized as Twitter. If anyone is well-versed in recognizing the traits and actions of a communist regime, it's this woman. Those with a deep understanding of the dreadful realities of communism are acutely aware of its distinctive characteristics and how to confront it. While I tend to be skeptical of anything he utters, she managed to command his attention and delivered a forceful admonition of the government and his department, drawing a parallel to the KGB. I appreciated her inclusion of election-related inquiries towards the conclusion. I believe she articulated the frustrations and concerns felt by many of us regarding the lack of accountability within this perceived criminal regime. What do you think? What do the viewers think? Abolish the American KGB.